Good morning everyone. In this session, we'll discuss about antenatal abdominal examination or obstetrical examination. Antenatal abdominal examination. Assessment of maternal and fetal well-being during antenatal period is done through the antenatal assessment, which includes history taking, physical examination and abdominal examination of the mother. History taking and physical examination you have learned in the previous classes. Today I will explain about the abdominal examination of an antenatal mother. Continuous prenatal assessment is important for a successful pregnancy outcome. A prenatal abdominal examination should be performed on a woman from 12 weeks till the delivery of the baby. The examination should be done on each subsequent visit. A thorough and systematic abdominal examination beyond 28 weeks of pregnancy can reasonably diagnose the lie, presentation, position and the attitude of the fetus. Objectives of abdominal examination. Abdominal examination helps to observe the signs of pregnancy. It helps to assess fetal size and growth, to assess fetal health, and abdominal examination also helps to diagnose the location of fetal parts, lie, presentation, position, presenting parts, etc. And also the abdominal examination helps to detect the gestational period by fundal height. Preparation of the antenatal mother for examination. Before starting the antenatal abdominal examination, you have to ask the mother to evacuate the bladder. Keep her in supine or dorsal position with the thighs slightly flexed. You can ask or assist her to loosen the clothes and fully expose the abdomen. And the examiner should stand on the right side of the antenatal mother to perform the antenatal abdominal examination. Wash your hands and make it dry, and if your hands are not warm, you can rub the hands together and make the hands warm before you start the procedure. Steps of abdominal examination. There are 3 steps included in the antenatal abdominal examination. They are inspection, palpation and auscultation. Under palpation, there are different steps included that I will explain in detail in the upcoming slides. Inspection. You have to assess the following details when you do the inspection of an antenatal mother. Number 1, size of the abdomen. Whether the size of the abdomen is appropriate to the gestational age. Then shape of the abdomen, whether the abdomen is ovoid or spherical. This depends on the gestational age. Contour, whether the abdomen is convex or flattened. Next one is flanks, whether the flanks are full or empty. Then is there any visible fetal movements present? That also should be noted. And skin changes. You have already studied about the stria gravidarum and linea nigra. So observe, is there any skin changes present for the mother, or some of the women may have previous surgical scar. So you have to note all these things when you do the inspection. Abdominal girth. Even though it is not included in the steps of antenatal assessment, in our clinical setup we do measure the abdominal girth of the mothers. The abdominal girth will be less in case of oligohydramnios or intrauterine growth retardation, Whereas in polyhydramnios or multiple pregnancy, the abdominal girth will be more. Palpation. Once you complete with the first step, that is inspection, we will move on to the second step, that is palpation. Here, measurement of the fundal height will be done initially. The fundal height of the uterus is measured in centimeters from the top of the symphysis pubis up to the midpoint of the uppermost margin of the uterine fundus. You have to centralize the uterus before you take the measurement. If the fundal height does not correspond to the expected period of amenorrhea, an investigation should be done. Measurement of fundal height. Fundal height can be measured by using different methods. You can measure the fundal height by using any one of the method. We'll see the first method. The first method combines knowledge of where to expect the fundal height to be at various weeks of gestation in relation to the woman's symphysis pubis, umbilicus and the tip of the xiphoid process. Here, the examiner's finger breadth is used as the measuring tool. In order to determine the height of the fundus, the midwife places her hand just below the siphisternum. Then she has to press gently downwards and move her hands smoothly until she feels the curved resistance, that is the upper border of the uterine fundus. Then she notes the number of finger breadths which can be comfortably accommodated between the uterine fundus and the umbilical level. So here up to umbilicus we consider 24 weeks. After that each finger breadth will be considered as 1 week. So how many fingers you can accommodate, that will be counted as 1 week each. So this is the calculation, and there is a considerable variation between examiners in the width of their fingers. For example, 2 finger breadth of a thick fingered person can be same as 3 finger breadth of a thin fingered person. This picture shows the size of the uterus according to the weeks of gestation. Here you can see at 24 weeks of gestation, the uterine fundus will be reaching near the umbilicus. This is the second method which is used to measure the fundal height. This is done by the help of a caliper. The caliper method of measuring fundal height is probably the most accurate method of measuring the fundal height after 22nd to 24th week of gestation. In order to use a caliper or external pelvimeter, place one tip on the superior border of the symphysis pubis and the other tip at the top of the fundus. Both placements are in the abdominal midline. The measurement is then noted on a centimeter scale which is already there on the caliper, and the number of centimeters should be equal approximately to the week of gestation after about 22nd to 24th weeks of gestation. This is the picture of a caliper and explains how to use it. The third method is measuring the fundal height by using a measuring tape. Measuring fundal height with a tape measure is the most frequently used method for obtaining an exact measurement. It is probably the second most accurate method of measuring fundal height after 22nd to 24th weeks of gestation. The zero line of the tape measure is placed on the superior border of the symphysis pubis and the tape measure stretched across the abdomen to the top of the fundus. This is done through the midline of the abdomen. In order to avoid error in locating the superior border, you have to palpate for the symphysis pubis. This picture shows how to measure the fundal height by using an inch tape. The number of centimeters measured should be approximately equal to the weeks of gestation after about 22nd to 24th weeks of gestation. This is another picture shows how to take the measurement by using an inch tape. In some conditions, the height of the fundus may not be equal to the weeks of gestation. The following are the conditions where the fundal height will be more than the period of amenorrhea. Number 1. Mistaken date of the last menstrual period, twins, polyhydramnios, big baby, pelvic tumors, may be due to ovarian or fibroid, hydatidiform mole, concealed accidental hemorrhage. In some of the conditions, the height of the fundus will be less than the period of amenorrhea. They are mistaken date of the last menstrual period, scanty liquor amne, fetal growth retardation, intrauterine fetal death. These are some of the important points you have to keep in mind when you perform an abdominal examination. Palpation should be conducted very gently during Braxton Hicks contraction or uterine contraction in labor. Palpation should be suspended. The abdominal palpation is often performed by following Leopold's maneuvers. This helps to determine the fetal lie, presentation, position, and engagement. While performing the Leopold's maneuver, the midwife can obtain the following details: evaluation of uterine irritability, tone of the uterus, whether there is any tenderness and consistency or any contractility present. Then evaluation of abdominal muscle tone, and also she can detect the fundal height, determination of fetal lie, presentation and position, and determination of whether the fetal head is engaged or not. Preparatory steps of doing abdominal palpation. First, you have to ask the mother to empty her bladder, and she has to expose the abdomen, that is from just below the breast to the symphysis pubis. The abdominal muscle should be relaxed, and you have to make sure that your hands are warm. If not, you can rub them together to make the hands warm. Before starting the palpation, lightly rest your hands on the woman's abdomen, and you can explain her how the procedure will be carried out. The technique of palpation is as follows. Use the flat palmar surface of your fingers for palpating, not the fingertips. Keep the fingers of your hands together, and you have to apply smooth, deep pressure as firm as necessary to obtain the accurate findings. Avoid any sudden movements like jagging or poking. Now we will discuss about the steps of abdominal palpation or the Leopold's maneuver. There are 4 major steps. The first step is fundal palpation. This is otherwise known as fundal grip or first Leopold's maneuver. The next one is lateral palpation or lateral grip. This is the second Leopold's maneuver. And the third one is Paulick grip or second pelvic grip, and this is the third Leopold's maneuver. And the fourth one is pelvic grip or first pelvic grip. This is the fourth Leopold's maneuver. Now we'll see how to perform the fundal palpation. The examiner has to stand facing the woman's head and place both hands on the woman's fundus and curve the fingers around the top of the fundus. Palpate for the shape, size, consistency and mobility of the fetal part which is present in the fundus. This picture shows how the hands are kept over the uterine fundus to do the fundal palpation, and in the second picture it is clear that the fundal area of the uterus, lateral area and the pelvic area. This you have to be familiar when you do the palpation. The findings of fundal palpation. If you feel a broad, soft and irregular mass at the fundal area, it is the fetal buttocks, whereas if you feel a smooth, hard and globular mass at the fundal area, that is the fetal head. If neither of the above is felt in the fundal area, that can be due to transverse lie. And if you look at the picture given below, it is clear for you. Once you complete the fundal palpation, you will move on to the lateral palpation. The examiner has to continue facing the mother's head. Place your hands on both sides of the uterus about midway between the symphysis pubis and the fundus. Apply gentle pressure with one hand against the side of the uterus and stabilize the fetus. And gently palpate with the examining hand. With the examining hand, palpate the entire area from the abdominal midline to the lateral side and from the symphysis pubis to the fundus. Use firm, smooth pressure and rotatory movement to do the palpation. Revise the procedure for examination of the other side of the uterus. The findings of lateral palpation. A firm, convex, continuously smooth and resistant mass extending from the breech to the neck is indicative of the fetal bag. The location of the bag in the left or right side of the woman's abdomen determines the position in a longitudinal lie. Small, knobby, irregular mass which move when pressed or may kick or hit your examining hand is indicative of the small fetal parts like hands, feet, knees and elbows. These should be felt in the opposite side of the abdomen where the fetal bag is felt. If the fetus is in posterior position, it is difficult to feel the fetal parts and the fetal bag. If you look at the picture, it will be more clear about the position, anterior and posterior position of the fetus. This picture shows the technique of doing lateral palpation. Once you complete the lateral palpation, you will start the pelvic palpation, that is the Paulick grip, or this is known as the third Leopold's maneuver. You have to continue to face the woman's head and you can ask her to bend the knees to avoid discomfort during the procedure. Grasp the portion of the lower abdomen immediately above the symphysis pubis between the thumb and the midline finger of the examining hand. Press gently into the abdomen in order to feel the presenting part below and between your thumb and the finger. As in the first maneuver, palpate for size, shape, consistency and mobility in order to differentiate if it is the head or fetal breech in the lower pole of the abdomen. In this picture, you can observe how you have to keep the hand to perform the Paulik grip. Findings of the Paulik's grip. A movable mass will be felt if the presenting part is not engaged, and if the presenting part is the head, and if it is engaged, it may not be movable. Now the last step in the palpation, that is pelvic grip or fourth Leopold or first pelvic grip. Now you have to turn towards the patient's feet. Make sure that the woman's knees are bent to avoid pain or discomfort during the procedure. You have to place your hands on the sides of the uterus with the palms of your hands just below the level of the umbilicus and your fingers directed towards the symphysis pubis. Press deeply with your fingertips into the lower abdomen and move them towards the pelvic inlet. Continue to move your hands towards the pelvic inlet. The findings of pelvic grip. If the head is the presenting part, one of your hands will make contact with a hard round mass while your other hand continues in the direction of the pelvis. This is the cephalic prominence, and if it is on the same side where the fetal back is felt, the prominence is occiput and indicates a face presentation with the head extended. If you look at the picture given, it is more clear. If the cephalic prominence is on the same side of the woman as the fetal parts, it is the sinciput and it indicates a vertex presentation with the head well flexed. At the brim of the pelvis, your hands will converge around the presenting part with the fingertips of your two hands touching in the midline, indicating the presenting part is not engaged. It is above the pelvic brim or floating. If the presenting part is breech, it will be readily movable. If the hands diverge away from the presenting part, it indicates the presenting part is either engaged or dipping. This picture shows the technique of performing the Leopold's maneuvers. Picture A shows the fundal grip, B shows the lateral grip, C explains the Paulik grip, and the picture D shows the pelvic grip. This picture shows how to determine the engagement of the head. Picture A, if the fingers are diverging, that means the head is engaged. Picture B, if the fingers are converging, the head is not engaged. Auscultation. This is the last step in antenatal abdominal examination. Auscultation helps to assess the fetal well-being. Auscultation can be done by using a stethoscope or by using a fetoscope. The fetal heart sounds are best audible through the fetal back in vertex and breech presentation, because the convex portion of the fetal back is in contact with the uterine wall. In cephalic presentation, the maximum intensity of fetal heart sound can be heard below the umbilicus, and in breech presentation, it can be heard around the umbilicus. In different positions of the vertex, the location of the fetal heart sound depends on the position of the back and the degree of descent of the fetal head. In occipital anterior position, the fetal heart sound is located in the midline of the spino-umbilical line of the same side. In occipitolateral position, it is heard more laterally, and in occipitoposterior position, it is heard towards the mother's flank on the same side. In left occipitoposterior position, it is most difficult to locate the fetal heart sound.